Greetings, greetings, family. We are live. Welcome, welcome to another Wednesday evening where we have the Sister Shanice Show. Absolutely delighted to have you on board. Oh, wow, wow, wow. I'm looking forward to another really interesting and exciting show this evening. To all of you who are already in the chat, welcome. Thank you so, so much. You know how we do it. Let us know where in the world you're actually viewing us from. As you can see, we've got some of our guests in the house. I've got another guest backstage preparing. And we're also expecting another guest from South Africa, and I'm looking forward to the guests introducing themselves to you today. So this is the Sister Shanice Show channel, and here, you know, we have our Africated educational talks amongst us as a people. We have the critical conversations, the needed conversations that we need to be having as a people during these serious times. So yeah, our guests are ready to go. We're going to be having another fantastic, bombastic talk, and we're looking forward to sharing it with you as a family. So please do tell your family and your friends that we are live. The clocks went back an hour at the last strong end, so I know it may well have confused some of our international viewers. So please let everyone know that now is the time to log on. Wow, wow, wow. So family, if you're in search of motivation, if you're in search of inspiration, if you're in search of, you know, all things great of us as a people, this is the place to be. Now, let me just welcome our guests in the house, and also our guests as they log on and as they let us know where they are watching us from. Welcome, Paul. Paul is saying he's watching us from Nairobi. Hey, we got Nairobi in the house. Awesome. And we've got Afrijamo in the house who's watching us from Ghana. We've got Natural Mystic in the house saying, greetings, family. Missed out last strong. Oh, duty of Babylon. Never mind. Oh, dear. So we welcome you. We welcome you today. And we welcome also Sister Hazel in the house, who's watching us from Texas. Rise up, rise up. We've got Ignite Spark in the house watching us from Washington, D.C. While in the plantation. Why not? I so forgot. And also, we want to rise up. We want to rise up. Malanga in the house. Yeah, wants us to give a shout out to Ruteno Mateneri. Rise up yourself, Rutendo, for the awesome works that you're doing, making the rest of the world aware of the impact of sanctions on Zimbabwe. And Ku Malanga is saying that he has succeeded in getting the UN and the USA to acknowledge the impact of sanctions on the Zimbabwean people. As if them never know. But you know what? It's good to let them know that we know and that we are on their case, and that at some point, if they don't address it, you know, they will find themselves in the courts for crimes against humanity and other such charges. Well, family, let's go around the panel and ask our panel members to introduce themselves to you. Brother Kwame, take yourself off mute, please. Introduce yourself to the family.
Thank you so much, Sister Shanice. I want to thank my colleagues on the panel, my brother, the fighter, Abu, Yakubu Hadi, and Sheila. And I want to thank you yourself, Sister Shanice. I work currently with the Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute, and as well as pushing the Rapid Africa Plan. I'm also part of the organization which my brother Hadi is, is the Fighter General, which is the Economic Fighters League, and we are constantly putting, the case of Pan-Africanism forward. So briefly, that is about me. Thank you very much.
We thank you very much, Brother Kwame, for the great works that you're doing out there as well. And let's welcome Sister Sheila. Welcome.
Voodoo, my people, Voodoo people on the chat on the comment section who are watching and listening. We give thanks for you creating this time and energy to be with us here. And I rise up my fellow panelists, Sister Shanice, Brother Kwame, Brother Yakubu, Sister Ndlovu, and everyone else. I know Brother Chizoba will be coming as well. So rise up. I am Sheila Chebet. I am Kenyan, currently living in the UK. I am a life coach. I run my own life coaching school. And because it's a school, we give courses on African themes because we know that African people need to talk about African things and need healing, holistic healing. And that's what we do in my school. I give thanks to be here. We're going to have a wonderful time today.
Welcome, welcome, Sister Sheila. And let's welcome our brother Hardy, Yakubu. Welcome, my brother. Please introduce yourself to the family and take yourself off mute.
Right. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful to be part of this conversation. Greetings to fellow panelists and greetings to you, Sister Shanice. I think this is my first time of being on this show, and I cannot describe how delighted I am to be having conversation with the global African family. My name is Hadi Yakubu. I belong to numerous Pan-African organizations, but principally the Economic Fighters League based in Ghana, which is an Nkrumahist organization. And immediately we mention Nkrumahist, you definitely know it is about African unity, it's about Pan-Africanism. And I also belong to the Africans Rising movement, which is also a Pan-Africanist movement mobilizing across all 54 African countries for the unity, peace, dignity, and justice of the African people. As I said, I'm very grateful to be here, and I'm looking forward to a very productive conversation with you all. Thank you.
We thank you for being so awesome and so active in the community because, wow, there is such a great works that needs to be done. And yeah, as we can see, we are delighted to be joined by our guest, Kosasana. Welcome, Sid.
Hi, everyone. I'm hoping you can hear me. I'm just getting a bit of a sound feedback on my side. It's just sounding quite
we're hearing you loud and clear.
You can all hear me well. All right, thank you. I'm getting a bit of feedback on my side. I don't know why. I think I missed the speech of my brother Hardy just now. But anyway, I'm hoping I'll be able to catch up via the replay if possible. But anyway, thank you so much for inviting me tonight. Good evening to everybody. I'm coming all the way from the African continent, from South Africa. My name is Nkosazana Ndlovu. I'm an auditor by profession. I'm also an ICT specialist. I currently get involved in a lot of African work on a non-governmental basis, even via the African Union. So it's quite a pleasure for me to be here tonight to engage and to listen to other fellow Africans on issues that affect us as young people in the continent. Thank you so much.
We thank you so much, Nkosa-sana. Yeah, a little bit of, we heard you loud and clear. You might just want to put your device on mute for us in between so we don't get any interference while others are speaking. But we welcome you. We're honored to have you on the platform as well. Wow, family. Look at our beautiful, young-looking family. And we have our brother Chizoba with us. Let's hope that we'll be able to hear our brother all the way from Ghana. Brother Chizoba, I think May is frozen. Oh no, Ghana. You're letting the side down, Ghana. Wagwan. Chizoba, please introduce yourself to the family.
Yeah, Hotep, Sister Shanice.
Hotep.
I'm so sorry the network here seems somehow bad this night. Yeah. It's a pleasure being here.
We will come back to our brother Chizoba once his network reconnects. we will be black with our brother. So family, you know, as you just heard from the very brief introduction there, we've got some wonderful young people in the house who are going to be contributing to our very important discussion today. Before we start our conversation, just want to big up Ghana on the other hand as well. Although, you know, Ghana, you need to sort out your network, man. One. We are also delighted that Ghana has actually decided that they want to invite the diaspora to a consultation session, and we are being consulted about a new bill that they are working on, and it's called the Homeland Return Bill. Family, Ghana, ahead of all of the other African countries, is stretching out its hands to the diaspora, and it wants to actually formalize the return of the diaspora. And they are, when they're talking about the diaspora, talking about us, Africans, of those who were taken away 400 or 500 years ago and scattered around the globe. They're welcoming us back home, and they want to formalize it. And so they're launching this consultation strategy, and the aim of it is to establish this Homeland Return Commission, so that, you know, we in the diaspora can have a say about what our expectations are in terms of returning to Ghana. And they are also saying in the bill what their expectations are of us, you know, for that return. And so I'm delighted that on my community talk show on Saturday on Galaxy Radio, we will have Dotsi Nmunkuva, who is the head of public affairs and information at the Ghana High Commission. He's going to be on my radio talk show on Saturday to tell us about this consultation that's happening and what it is that Ghana are leading the way to do in terms of bringing back home the diaspora. So I want to rise up Ghana for that. As soon as our guests get their networks and they're back, I will be adding them again. So watch out for that on the community talk show. Also, family, just want to let you know that as a follower on from this show, next Wednesday, we have a number of guests who are policymakers and who are going to be talking to policymakers about the need for them to be putting in place policies and programs that's going to advance our young people, the young people of tomorrow. And so we've got Dr. Ya Ashantiwa. She's the founder director for the Institute of Africology based in KwaZulu Natal. We've got Professor Chinonomona, and he's the creator of Glue. This is the African equivalent to Zoom. And so he's going to be on the show next strong. We've also got His Excellency Ambassador Ife Ekuru, who's the Africa Youth Community Worldwide representative and also an aspiring office for the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, who's going to be with us. And we've also got Mrs. Bongawi Nojobi, who is a leading agriculturalist in South Africa. These are people who are, you know, at the forefront of doing great works and who we believe are in a great position as well to be able to inform policy. And they will be doing that based on the conversation that we're having tonight, that we're going to be hearing from our young people. So I'm ready to start the ball rolling. I think, you know, we've got a number of our family members in the house. Welcome. And so let's start today's presentation with our brother Kwame Gonza, who is a staunch Pan-Africanist who believes in a united African state now to remedy the ills of, you know, the befallen African people all over the world. Brother Kwame, we welcome you for today's discussion. Let me go straight over to you now, my brother, Kwame Gonza.
Thank you, Sister Shanice. Thank you so much once again, and thank you to the viewers who are watching us from all over the world on this channel. Today, the topic that we are talking about is the future of the African youth on the continent. itself. And when we talk about the African youth, it is not only the youth on the continent, but also in the diaspora, because according to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, all people of African descent, whether they live on the continent or outside the continent, belong to the African nation. So when we speak about African people, we mean all people of African descent and all those on the continent. Now, there's no question that the youth are the future of this continent called Africa. And many people have come to realize this. Recently, there has been a summit that was organized by France. And France came and called the African youth. And this summit of recent, it was being organized for the African heads of state in conversation with France. So what has France seen on the continent? It has seen that the continent now is occupied by the youth up to the tune of 70%. And this shows us that the youth are the future of this continent. But us being the future of the African continent is not enough. There is certain things we are supposed to recognize as a people or as the youth of this continent. And one of that is that we have the responsibility. So that responsibility comes from us understanding the history of this continent, that a few years ago, there was a struggle. There were a group of people who were youth like us during their period in the 60s, in the 40s, starting the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Those people, the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Patrice Lumumbas, and these people, they recognized that they have a responsibility on this continent, that they have a task. And like Franz, I think it was Franz Fanon who said that it is out of obscurity that every generation must discover its mission. So the generation in the 60s, 50s, and 40s, they discovered their mission, and that was to bring about political, freedom. They wanted to get the continent free, to make the continent free, so that we as a people, we can be able to govern ourselves. And in it, they worked very hard, and even to the extent that they wanted to bring economic freedom. In their dream, they had the economic freedom in mind. But for some reason and challenges which they faced, even though they worked tirelessly, they were not able to finish this job. And one of the things I've spoken about is that we as the youth is not enough for us to just say we are the future, but we have also to recognize that we have a task ahead of us. In this, our generation, we have to understand that it is now our turn to take the responsibility, to take the fight and finish the job that was not finished by our ancestors. And what is that job? Now, that job is the job of economic freedom, of fighting for the economic freedom of the continent. And I believe that is one of the jobs my brother Yakubu Hadi is engaged in right here. And we have the responsibility of supporting such organizations as Economic Fighters League, as you are hearing the mention that it is economics. Now, it is Economic Fighters League, so it is about economics. This is the job which was not finished. But there is supposed to be a combination of tools that should be used, and organizations like Economic Fighters League can direct the people in that direction. Now, also there is the responsibility of understanding the enemy we are fighting and the current affairs, the geopolitics that is going on in the world, before we say that we are the future of this continent. We are supposed to understand why is the continent where it is today. Why did our ancestors fail? I mean, they did not fail, but why did they face certain challenges and they were not able to finish the job to a certain extent? What were the forces against them? And today, when we look at the situation that is going around, we can see that the same forces or the same challenges which they faced that hindered their finishing of the job, they are the same challenges that we have today. I will give an example. I was moving through Kampala today, and I was noticing certain businesses for example, in manufacturing, in plastics, manufacturing, cement. I was looking at the financial sector, and you can see that all these businesses now have been taken over by foreigners. Like the construction industry now is in the hands of foreigners. We have the biggest companies which are manufacturing cement in the country. For example, we have Tororo Cement Limited, we have Hima Cement, we have Kampala Cement, and all these, the first one is controlled by the French, the second one is controlled by Switzerland, by the Swiss people, and the third company is controlled by the Indians. And you can see that the continent now, or the country like Uganda, its situation is not peculiar. It's not different from what is happening in other African countries. But you can see that the country has been growing, but it has not been growing for the people. Actually, Uganda is very gifted. Is very gifted to a certain extent that the country is very blessed that people grow their food. They don't import a lot of food. There is a lot of things which we don't import. I've been fortunate enough to live on both sides of the continent. I currently live in Ghana, but I come back to Uganda and visit. I've seen certain things which we import in Ghana, and Uganda is being gifted and blessed to a certain extent that we don't import things like rice. We don't import sugar. We have more than 10 manufacturing, factories which are producing sugar. We have tea, we have coffee, and all these things are imported in Ghana. We have rice, we have a lot of rice. But there is something which is missing here now. When you go to the manufacturing sector and even all these industries, the money could have been staying in the country and the country would have grown rapidly. But you have this profit repatriation that is going on, that these people who are controlling all these sectors, they are sending out most of the money. Like, for example, also, I'll give the financial sector also. The financial sector has been overrun by foreign, banks. And this is the same situation which we have in Ghana. So you can see that these things are the same challenges which our ancestors faced all over the continent. The forces that fought against them, they are the same forces which we have to contend with even today. So there is a need for us to appreciate the challenge and then put forward measures, work together all over the continent and put forward measures for which we will use to confront these kind of challenges. So when we look at, for example, Dr. Milton Obote, who brought independence to Ghana, who was a very good friend to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Dr. Milton Obote was overthrown by the same forces which overthrew Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So it is important here for us to appreciate the history before we confront these forces, because these forces are historical in their nature. So I see that it is important to appreciate the history, of these challenges, and then put them to the current stage where we are. We project ourselves to the current stage where we are and understand that it's the same forces that we have to deal with as a people. So with this, I'll put a comma around there, and I will invite the next speaker to come and make his points, and I'll probably come back. Thank you very much, Sister Shanice.
You're on mute. Sister Shanice, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Oh, my apologies. You should have told me that ages ago. I was thanking you, Kwame, for that very insightful and somber opening presentation there, because I say somber because it's a real reality as well of the external forces and the extent to which those external forces are influencing a lot of what's happening on the continent. And it's important that we recognize, you know, that those forces are strengthening their positions as well, and that they're growing, and that it's not just one country in particular in some of these African countries that are cornering important parts of the economy, but, you know, there are different European countries that are operating and they're forming blocks as well. Going forward, obviously, we need to make sure that, you know, it's our African brothers and sisters who are at the forefront of running and controlling and managing those corporations, those businesses, and those institutions and organizations, because that's the only way that the money is going to stay in the country and trickle, you know, into the families and the communities on the continent. Because you said that, you know, there's an economic flight happening. You know, the money's going straight out of the companies through those foreign banks as well. And so thank you so much, you know, for highlighting the importance for us to bear in mind, you know, when we're looking at the economic situation on the continent, the external forces that are reaping the benefits at the moment from our economies. But also, very importantly, you highlighted the opportunities. You know, the fact that, you know, in Uganda, there's rice, there's sugar, there's tea, there's coffee, etc. These are potentially new markets that our young people can be establishing and be trading amongst, you know, each other in their different respective countries. Why should Brother Kwame and Brother Hardy and Brother Chizoba and Sister Sheila not be heading up organizations that's trading in coffee, tea, sugar across the continent? We've got to create our own markets and our own networks. The Europeans, those markets were created 300 to 300 years ago, and they're continuing, you know, to feed those markets of theirs abroad. We've now got to start feeding our internal markets as well. I could say so much, but you know what? I've got you wonderful guests because I want to hear from you. So let's, without further ado, now invite our brother Hardy Yakubu to contribute to the discussion. Welcome, Brother Hardy.
Yeah, thank you very much. And let me thank my brother Kwame Gonza for such an insightful presentation. I think he has correctly, you know, diagnosed the problem that we have with the external forces that have sworn by their ancestors never to allow Africa to rise. And I think it's really very simple. If you ask why, somebody was asking the last time I had a conversation on this topic, why is it that, you know, we have all these external forces who are battling against our progress? And the simple answer is that it is a dialectical situation. It is a situation of opposites, all right? Because they need us to be where we are in order for them to develop. And so once we rise, then it truncates their development is dependent upon our underdevelopment. And this is the point that in the 1960s that African and Caribbean, principally Caribbean, our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, scholars who came up with the dependency theory to explain how all these things are. But so yeah, I mean, my gratitude to Kwame Gonza for that insightful presentation. I like to pick my presentation from the perspective of where we're going next. You know, we have so much history behind us. We have so much going on that we ought to be analyzing and studying and learning from. that we will be so foolish, pardon my language, if we were not to make sure that we strategize very carefully and very keenly to thwart the efforts of the enemies. And let's not be nice about it or diplomatic about it. We have these external forces, but we also have internal enemies. And without these internal enemies, there's no way that these external forces are going to be able to defeat us. And that's why in Kwame Nkrumah's theory of neocolonialism, he correctly, analyzed the link between the internal enemy and the external enemy. So we have two enemies that we have to confront, the internal and the external, that are linked, and their interests are linked in one way or the other. Now, who is the internal enemy? The internal enemy is the gatekeeper of neocolonialism. So there are people in these our countries. So for instance, I'll give you an example, Sister Shanice. You talked about the diaspora return bill that is currently before Parliament. I haven't read that bill. I'll try and find it and read it. But if you go into the DNA of the system that we are running, it is basically based on the 1844 or 1884 1884 division of the continent into small non-viable states, right? So now we have all these borders that are crisscrossing around between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana and Burkina Faso, Ghana and Ivory Coast, Uganda and Kenya, Uganda, and all these are causing all manner of problems. You see, I went to a village in the Upper East region of Ghana. It is called Mognori, and there is a small river that runs across the village. On one side of the river is Ghanaian territory. On the other side of the river is territory in Burkina Faso. There is a family of a man who lives in the Ghana side of the river, whose wife lives in the Burkina Faso side of the river. So part of his family lives in the Ghana part of his family lives in the Burkina Faso part. So he can eat lunch in Ghana and eat dinner in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso. So when I came, I had been reading the theory of African unity and neocolonialism from Kwame Nkrumah and all our ancestors. But when I came face to face with this reality, this is when it dawned on me the wisdom that is in the cause for African unity, because these borders were divided without any regard to the family unions and to the people living within those places. And if you look at the ethnic groups from which I come, it is called the Gbamba, you see, and we are related to the Mosi. The Mosi is a majority ethnic group in Burkina Faso. We are one family, cousins, but in terms of formal state formation, we are supposed to be Ghanaians and they are Burkinabe. And if you want to go into Burkina Faso, then you are going to have to face immigration officials and all manner of things. There is a law in Ghana that prevents people from other African countries. It broadly says foreigners from engaging in retail trade unless you can put a capital of $1 million down. How many of our people from Africa are going to be able to? And so there is constant harassment. There's constant harassment of our brothers and sisters from Nigeria who are in Ghana engaging in retail trade. So in the eyes of that law, in the eyes of the system, every African is a foreigner in Ghana. That is an anomaly, because that understanding is based on the 1884 division of the African continent. There is also a law that says that anybody who has dual citizenship, so maybe Ghanaian citizenship and British citizenship, you cannot be eligible to appointment to higher office. This is one of the issues that we have raised issues about, that it makes no sense. So there are people from African descent who live in the United States or who live in the UK, in fact, who were born and bred in the United States or the UK, who hold UK passports or United States passport, but also want to be Ghanaian without necessarily dismissing their citizenship in the other countries. And that prevents them from being able to offer their skills and expertise in the public sector. This is not a progressive move. And that is why it is important that African youth, the future of Africa lies in its unity. The future of Africa lies in its unity. And that is why the African youth, myself included, we have no option than to make sure that we pursue this agenda to its logical conclusion. And we are not going to depend on African Union or ECOWAS or SADC or all these other neo-colonial, regional-based, balkanized groups that are only, forgive my language, interested in drinking tea and eating jollof at their summit, whilst continuing to postpone the unity of Africa. First they said 2020, now they said 2063. 2063 simply means that none of them is going to be alive, and therefore over their dead body. That's what it simply means. That's what it simply means. So the young people of the continent, we are in the majority in any case, even though the systems are built in such a way that they are supposed to oppress us and make sure that we do not rise to the occasion. But we will in time, because we are mobilizing on the ground and we are doing the sort of work that needs to be done to completely obliterate the thinking of divisiveness and lack of fellow feeling and unity in the minds of the people, because everything begins in the mind. And that is why the white man, when he got control of the things, of the territories of Africa, the first thing they did was to distort the history, and pile lies upon lies upon lies upon lies, saying that the African had no history except the adventure of the European in Africa. That was completely lies. We all know that the most enduring and the most progressive civilizations in history, right from Kemet to Nubia to Ghana to Abyssinia, all of these were in Africa. In any case, if you want to begin the history of Africa from slavery, but your biological theory tells you that the first man appeared in Africa. Now ask yourself, what happened between the time that the first man appeared and the advent of slavery? Is that not history? That is history. That is glorious history. That is the period within which the African, was able to build civilizations that even the Greek and the Romans, all of these philosophers, Socrates, Plato, Descartes, and all of that, they came to Kemet to study philosophy, and then these people lied that we do not have any history, we do not have any intellect. We do have it, and it is important that we go back and study these histories, not because we just want to romanticize, but because we want to learn from our past in order to be able to guide our future, because the past is always the gateway to the future. So in conclusion, Sister Shanice, what I want to say is that our future lies in unity. And if you are an African living anywhere, and as Kwame Gonza said, Kwame Nkrumah said, and this is very important, that any human being of African descent, everybody who is of African descent, it doesn't matter where they live, it doesn't matter where they live, are of the African nation and are African. So for me, my attitude, wherever you are, I regard you, if you are of African descent, I regard you as my brother or my sister until you say otherwise. So once we see this from the perspective of unity, the first battle has been won. And once we win that, we will be on our way to uniting the continent, making sure that we have the sort of unity that will give us the power. That will give us the power to reclaim. I mean, we are talking about reparations. We are talking about the stolen artifacts. If we had the power, we wouldn't be begging for them. We would be demanding for them. And once these things belong to us. They came and stole them. Why are we begging? Why are we begging? It is because we have absolutely no power. So we need to build the power and demand for these things as a matter of rights and and from the perspective of power. Because if we do not do that, they're going to return them and couch it in PR terms as some sort of favor, which our misleaders, tea drinking, jollof eating misleaders are now going to then take on board and give them more of our resources, and we remain poor forever. We do not want to do that. I do not want to. It is better for me to die now than to grow old in an Africa that is continually divided, that has no sense of self-respect, that goes on begging every time, and people, just treating us any. No. I don't want to grow old in this kind of Africa, and I'm determined, as a colleague youth in Africa, to make sure that this situation changes before it is too late.
Rise up, Brother Hardy. Oh my gosh, that was fire. Enough, big up in the chats as well. Welcome. This is the sort of energy that we love on the show. Not true, Brother Kwame. Rise up. Welcome, Brother Hardy. Let's go over to the chat for a short while and see what we've got going on here. Right, so Hardy, your heart is in the right place, but people of African descent in Western nations, I don't know if that's a question mark there. Kwame Ossi saying, how can we unite when we refer to each other as foreigners? Yes, we absolutely need to see ourselves first and foremost, using the term Africans that we're using today, as Africans, as one people. Absolutely, Brother Kwame. We have to, do away with nationality, do away with tribalism, do away with religion. We have to do away with all of these divisions, as well as the borders that are dividing us, and see ourselves first and foremost as one family, from the one root that Brother Hardy was talking about that goes back into Mama Africa, hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of years ago. We are one people. Orbiaman said, welcome Orbiaman, what do you say? He said, Haitians take boats to South America, then walk to the US border to get stopped under a bridge. Europeans take plane to Africa and are given the keys to the country. What a thing. What a wicked contradiction there. Rise up yourself, Orbiaman. This is it. We roll out the red carpet, don't we, for these so-called foreigners on Mama Africa land. But look how our people are being treated when they go to, America or any countries in the West. It is a great, disgrace indeed. I mean, and all of us are very, very aware of, the family members that have gone on the boats across the Mediterranean. Many have lost their lives. The watery grave, the Mediterranean is a graveyard, with the bones of our loved ones who have gone across, who have risked their life in order to try and improve their situation and their future. And so we've really got to improve things on the continent so that, our brothers and sisters do not feel as though they have to risk their lives going to where they perceive the grass to be greener on the other side. African Last Born says, unity without culture will never stand. We need an ideology built on our culture to perpetuate the lasting unity that will develop in Africa. Absolutely hear you on that, Last Born African. Yes, we need to embrace our African culture, our African identity, our own African curriculum, our own African language. And we're talking about Kiswahili being that African language. Let me, without further ado, go over to our brother Chizoba. I hope that his network allows our brother to be heard today. Brother Chizoba, welcome. Please take yourself off mute, my brother. We welcome you today, and hopefully we'll be able to hear from you. Please unmute yourself. We can't hear you. You're on mute. Okay, let's hope that our brother manages to get the message. I think there's a lengthy delay on the line. We will go back to our brother Chizoba, and we will also add back up Chizoba.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry for the network, quite somehow crazy this night, but I'm glad to be here. And quickly, without taking much of the time again, I want to go straight into the talk of the day, which is what is the future of African youth in Africa? This is actually a great topic which I delighted in when I saw it. And I would like to say that the future of Africa is not only a great one, but a colossus of human breakthrough. What do I mean by this? Evidence has clearly shown in a crystal clear template that there is a massive increasing population in Africa. And this population is not just a mere population, but myriads of men and women who are talented and who are gifted by Olodumare, the creator of heaven and earth. Olodumare means God in our language in Nigeria, in Yoruba. Men whose minds have been applicated to bring about an Africated civilization. Just as my brother said the other time, reports have shown that most African countries, 70% of us, of our populations, are below the age of 30. And what does that mean? That simply puts Africa on the continent in the world. And with this, as some experts say, that Africa is set for an outstanding breakthrough with this young population that it has. As I could remember the course of history in the past, in the days of our fathers, before the strongest, the richest, the most powerful, and the most peaceful continent all over the world. Advanced in economic activity and interstate trading. All these things came to possibility because the vast and large populations were annexed, such as in the Songhai Empire, the Ashanti Empire, the Oyo Empire, the Igbo people, and the Bantus that spread across the East and Central Africa, and as well as the Southern Africa. They all annexed their populations and they became great in those days. However, the slave trade came up, which we call the amalgamism, and brought a temporary stop to the vast development and civilization of over 5,000 years in the land of the black. Our youth, I mean our brothers, gifted and talented ones, genius, medical doctors, teachers, scientists, soldiers were all taken away by the invaders. Many of them were killed, while some were kidnapped and taken to America and to Europe to develop their own economy. But praise be to God Olodumare, who sustained Africa, that despite the annihilation attempts by the invaders, Africa is still strong, we're still moving, and we're still rising up. And the lost youthful days is being restored, as reports could show all over the world. And just as I could remember what my father used to say, Chief Prophet Meduti Kwakubonsu, he do say that the ultimate treasure of every nation, of every generation, is our youth, our children. And this is what Africa is gaining back right now. And this is a message to Africa that Africa is coming back to our glory days, to the time of prominence, just as it was to our fathers in history. As we could see, that there is no race of human, there is no race of human in the history of humankind that have annexed population and used it and maximized it as good as the Africans does. Africans have been able to use their population in a great deal to create development and to create a change. So I want to give some statistical analysis now to show that the population that Africa is having right now is projecting Africa to a great level of development and civilization. And not just a mere civilization, but an Africated civilization that is going to take over the world. Now, this is the projection. According to the United Nations, in the year 2020, it was projected that by year 2055, the world population will be 10 billion people. And 57% of this population will be Africans. That is 1.4 billion people of 10 billion will be Africans, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. It is said that the population will double up and will increase by 2050 by 99%. Fortunately, I'm glad to say this. Almost 60% of African population is youngest continent in the world. And this growth is attributed to high fertility with decline in child mortality. And this population provides an opportunity for the continent to develop.
Wow. We will bring back our brother Chizoba. Oh my days, what a presentation. He was in mid-flow of delivering there. Let's hope that his network allows him to come back. And wow. I want to rise up his adopted father, Prophet Kweku, who all of our regular followers here on the Sister Shanice Show knows very, very well. Chizoba is his adopted son, and we're just hearing the wisdom from our brother Chizoba. We're just hearing the uplifting message as well, the reminder of our former greatness, the reminder that we are the ones who civilized the world, the reminder, you know, the great empires that we had prior to the invasions of those Europeans, and the reminder, you know, that we are rising and that the African youth will continue to rise. Wow, wow, wow. Let's see if we've got our
And then Sister Shanice herself has dropped off. So what do you suggest we do? Shall we continue?
Yeah, I think you can pick it up, Sheila, from where she stopped. I think she was coming to you.
No, I think she was coming to Sister Nkosazana. Sister Nkosazana, you can start. You can tell us what you prepared. Our audience is still there. Oh, Sister Shanice is back.
Thank you, Sister Sheila, for jumping in there. Hey, carry on. Oh, sorry. My apologies for that.
Just to report some news on our side, we just went through a local government election. I'm assuming it's probably been broadcast, obviously, in all international, national media, and of course, probably some of Africa is seeing it as well.
My sister Sultana, we're not hearing you very well because of the crackling on your device. Do you have another device that you can use? There's a lot of
challenge.
Yeah. Do you have another device that you can use?
Can you hear me well?
There's a lot of crackling online.
Okay.
Yes. Please use another device.
It's fine. All right.
Thank you. Okay. While we wait for Nkosazana to do that, let's go back to Brother Chizoba so that he can pick up from where he left off. Please take yourself off mute, my brother, and continue to sum up. You're on mute. Please unmute. Please unmute yourself, Chizoba. Yes, my brother. We're not hearing you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sister. Yes, thank you, Sister Shanice. So quickly, I'm going to continue from where I stopped. Okay. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we're hearing you, my brother.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we're hearing you. There's a delay, but we're hearing you.
So with a median age, can you hear me now? Okay, thank you very much. So as I was saying, I was trying to give a statistical analysis of what is actually going on in Africa. And I said, currently, Africa is the youngest continent in the world, with a median age of 19.7 in year 2020. That was last year. Africa's population is having an opportunity ahead of other continents compared to the median age of 31.0 in Latin America, 32.0 in Asia, 33.4 in Oceania, 38.6 in Northern America, and 42.5 in Europe. And currently, as we are talking right now, Africa's population is growing vast. And when I say it's growing vast, it's not just growing vast in a mere population that doesn't make a meaning or sense. It is growing in a population of men and women of great change, men of valor, men that are sent by Eledumare to effect change in the population, in the history of Africa. Now, I'm going to be sharing some major personalities in Africa, what they have done, young ones what they are doing right now. And the first person I will be talking about is my dear brother here from Ghana. His name is Asidu Abudu from Ghana. He is the inventor of the automatic eating machine and fufu pounding machine. I also want to talk about Otto from Cameroon. Because of time limitation, I may not be able to talk about what he invented. But I will just mention their names. William Katamba from Malawi, Veron Macron from Congo, Abdel Shakron from Morocco, Evan Wadongo from Kenya, Ludwig Marishen from South Africa, and Adebisi Abiodun from Nigeria. All these people that I mentioned their names have invented great technologies, have done great things that even the people, the Western world, have never attempted before. But we wouldn't see them on CNN, neither are we going to see them on BBC because they didn't come from the white. They are the works of the blacks. But we are not ashamed to sing our home praises. And so we are saying it that Africa's population that is growing is a growth towards Africated civilization. It's a growth towards Africated development. And I'm boldly saying it, and I believe that Africa is coming to limelight again, just as it is in the days of our fathers that they had the prominence over the world. We are coming up to that
We are coming up indeed. My brother, you've gone back on mute. So I'm not sure if you were ending there, but yes, we are coming up indeed. I love that spirit, and the reminder of the great ones that we've got on the continent. And as more and more young people come into that part of the world, we are going to grow in greatness indeed. Wow, wow, wow. Sister Sheila, are you feeling the vibrations from our brother there? Wow.
Yes. I am indeed. And I'm thinking, what a blessed people we are. Just from the introductions, and everyone was saying what it is they do, and I'm like, oh my, these are the things we need to put out there. When the international puts things out there, you hear about the Africa is suffering, is corrupt, is this, is that. And then you come to a show like this, and the panelists introduce themselves, and everyone is doing something great. Everyone is doing something awesome. It is indeed a blessed continent with blessed people and with very, very creative, talented people. Brother Chizoba was naming a few people and saying that these people, before he was cut off, he was saying about great things that these people have done, that even people in the West have not begun dreaming about them yet. These are people that are living currently in 2021 with us, and they're already doing so many great things. Before that, Brother Yakubu had talked about the things that had happened, the civilization that had happened before slavery happened. The things, the cradle, Africa is the cradle of civilization, and we did so many great things. And as he said, the past is the doorway to the present and to the future. So you can see there is that narrative going on, that from the past, we were always the inventors, the creators. And even now in the present, with the circumstances we are in, whereby white supremacy is the one leading and we are oppressed and suppressed and subjugated, we are still winning. We are still coming up with all these great innovations. As much as we may not be put out there on the world pedestal in the international media, certainly we are awakening, and our own people are coming up with platforms like this one, whereby we are able to showcase ourselves and come and talk about how we can move forward. So we are making great progress, people. This is great progress to even be here at this point in time and connect with each other and talk the same language. We are making progress. So we should never, ever, ever forget that each day we are waking up to a greater dawn. Now, I remember some time back, I had some people who were interested in something that I was doing. And there's some people from the West, and they were so keen and so interested and so kind. It was a project I'd come with. And it was going to be a self-funding project, or a project that the community self-funds it. People come to fund to be part of the project. And then a Western organization saw it, and it jumped in and they said, you know what, we are ready to fund this. So just tell us what, write to us a project, write to us a proposal, and we'll fund it. And as I was getting ready to give the proposal, another organization heard of it, another Western organization heard of it and said, no, don't go with those ones. We're going to double whatever we're going to give you. Let us do it. In the end, I had 3 organizations to choose from. And I chose one of them. And let me tell you that I didn't stay long in the project. They completely took it a different way than what I had wanted. And I realized what they wanted more than anything else, they wanted access to the children. It was a project that was dealing with children. They wanted access to the children. And because I was already coming from the community, I already knew what the needs were from the community. I'd already done the paperwork required. As in it was a Kenyan organization. So because I was already Kenyan, I'd already passed the loopholes. I'd already passed the bureaucracy that was in place. So they were just coming in and going straight. So when they came in, they kind of cut me out. And I say this because Brother Kwame started by talking about what France had done with the youth. You know, France had organized this meeting and targeted the youth. Now, whenever you see the West coming to you and saying, we are going to do this and we're going to do this with you, know that you have something that they want. So they are not coming to you because they want to help you. They are coming to you because they want to help themselves. And right now, as Brother Chizoba was saying, we are the youngest population. And we are, as he was saying, in a few years' time, 67% of the world's population will be in Africa, and it will be a young generation. So Africa is actually the future of the earth, the way we're going. So the West will see that this is the future of the earth, because where you have the future, that is whereby the most growth is going to be. That's where the most power is going to be. That is whereby if you control the people in that place, you've controlled the world. So when you see the West is now investing so much in Africa, it is the youth they are coming from, because they are knowing if they control this youth now, they are guaranteed that in the future, they, the West, will be on top. So we have to be very careful. We have to stop this nonsense of allowing the French or the British or the American or whatever it is, these people to come and have access to our youth. As it is, there is no outsider that can come from another country and have access to the youth of the West. Try saying that I want to get access to the British youth. You cannot. There is no way you will get access to the British youth. They protect their young people because they know this is their future. America protects its young people because they know this is their future. Every other Western country protects their young people because they know that's their future. Then there is us Africans who leave our young people open to anyone, including oppressors who have oppressed the ancestors of these young people. This is whereby we as Africans need to wake up. We need to wake up. This one, we cannot blame anyone. This is us, because it's us giving this access to the West. Now, Brother Yakubu said something about unity of the African people, and he spoke about this river that, you know, one side is Burkina Faso, another side is Ghana. We have the same problem in Kenya. I come from a border town called Kitale. Kitale is a border town between Kenya and Uganda. For me to get national ID, I cannot get it from elsewhere. I have to go to the village where I come from. And when I reach there, I need to go to my chief, walk around, and my chief is supposed to prove that indeed I am not Ugandan, I'm Kenyan, for me to get the Kenyan passport. We police these boundaries with so much vigor that they cannot give me this Kenyan ID without proving I'm Kenyan, as opposed to being Ugandan, because they acknowledge that because it's a border town, I could be Ugandan as well. But does it matter? These boundaries were not there. These boundaries were not put there by the African people. And just like Brother Yakubu said, I have family in the Ugandan side. My family, when they came and they put the border that way, they cut our family into half. So some of my family are in the Kenyan side. Some of my family are in the Ugandan side. We are one family. The same blood flows down our veins. But I cannot go to Uganda without having a passport. They cannot come to Kenya without having a passport. This is ridiculous. But we are here policing this boundaries with all that we've got. This is just division. This is not unity at all. It gets worse. When Brother Yakubu was talking about these divisions and the laws in place that make sure that Africans are foreigners in other countries, what is also there, like a country like Kenya, where I come from, we also have something that's called tribalism. So we have within the Kenyan country, there are places you can't go because you don't come from that ethnic group. And you are known by your name. So because your name gives you away. So there are places you cannot be given a job. You cannot even get to school there. You cannot get to buy anything there. You cannot even begin to buy business there. You are all Kenyans. But because you come from different ethnic groups, there are places within Kenya itself you cannot have freedom to do stuff because you are coming from, you're not from that ethnic group. So the division is worse than just national divisions. It's also within the country. And when we talk about unity, before we start talking about unity in the bigger national scale, we have to start talking about unity in the singlest, smallest component there is. And that is starting with unity in the family. And then unity in the bigger, in the society, in the community you are. And then unity bigger and bigger. That unity starts from the smallest component there is for it to grow bigger, for it to reach the point whereby it's national unity. Then it becomes the continent, the regional unity, then the continental unity before we reach the world unity. Because right now in the country itself, we are not united. Every year in Kenya, when we have elections, like we have elections next year, there are wars in the country. We have to kill each other along tribal lines. So you can see we are already divided. This is just us, the Kenyan people. We are trying to come up and vote a misleader. We're not even voting for a leader. We are voting for someone to oppress us. And we're fighting amongst ourselves during that time. Then how are Kenyans going to unite with Ugandans? How are Kenyans going to unite with Ghanaians? How are Kenyans going to unite with Tanzanians when Kenyans amongst their own selves cannot unite? During the election time, you find fathers and mothers, like my father and my mother come from different ethnic groups. During election times, you find the family is divided into two lines. This side of the family is voting for this side of the family is voting for this. So during that time of elections, the family has to split. This one's go this way, that one go that way. How can I come then and preach unity when in my own family itself, there is no unity amongst tribal lines? So when we start talking about unity, we have to go back to where the rain started to beat us. And that is going back to that smallest unity. That is going back to the family. Like what is happening now between our men and women? You know, when you talk about unity, we don't even have to go far, yeah? We don't even have to go nations. Our men and women in Kenya, when you go and read the social media, when things happen, there is so much antagonism between the African man and the African woman. Just a little spark like this. The men are attacking the women are attacking the men. So if already in that unit where we're supposed to be complementing each other, we are fighting each other, how can we have unity? How can you have unity when the sisters in the country are fighting the brothers and the brothers are fighting the sisters? This is not the way we used to be. This is not our way. We were the Ubuntu people. We are still the Ubuntu people. You know, the people that, you know, this is one of my own and I am one of theirs. So the fight is needless. But where we are right now, we are fighting amongst ourselves. And when we want now to have some sort of peace, some semblance of unity or harmony, who do we go to call as the mediator between our fights? We reach for the West. We call the UN, we call British, we call, I don't know who it is, but we reach for the West and say, come. We are fighting. And that is how we end up showing our weaknesses. Because what they do, they don't come to unite us. They come to fuel the fire some more. They fuel it so that that unity is not achieved. As Brother Yakub said, it is our underdevelopment, that from our underdevelopment, they thrive. So when we end up showing our weakness to them and say, come and help us with these weaknesses, they use that to even drive the wedge further. So as a young people, these are the conversations we need to talk. These are the conversations we need to have and ask, what is it that has been put in us that we are fighting each other so much? And then we have to name and shame our enemies. We have to know who exactly is the one that's driving this wage, who is manipulating us. We need to name Because most of the time we say, oh, we are not united, we are not doing this, we are not doing that, but we actually don't name exactly who is benefiting from our division. And it is the West. When we start naming and saying the West is at the heart of our division and the West is benefiting from our divisions, then we'll start looking at things very clearly. So before I finish, Kwame in the chat has been talking about the device. I don't want to mention by name, has been talking about the device and saying that that device, that biological device, is jeopardizing our future. And he was asking if the panelists have been partisan to receiving the device. I hope you understand me when I say the device. What I would like to tell you, Brother Kwame, is that sometimes when you see we are not mentioning some conversations, it's because we want to keep the platform going, because the ears are there. And immediately we mention some things, their logarithms come up, and then suddenly we won't have this show anymore. So just know the device is not part and parcel of our biological makeup. We do not stand for it. And when we're talking about the African youth being there and being the people that are taking forth the world, it's because we speak with the authority of knowing that we come as we were made, with no foreign matters coming to dictate on how our bodies work. I give thanks, my people. I give thanks.
We give thanks to you, Sister Sheila, as well. Rise up yourself. I mean, a lot has been said there, but you know, although yes, we've got a lot of work to do amongst ourselves in terms of, you know, the divisions that are being kind of cemented, even within the family. We're hearing, at least, you know, we are now recognizing, you know, where these divisions are coming from, and we need to recognize that, you know, so-called democracy and the whole voting system is another system that divides us, even within the family, one voting for one party and another for the other. But just know that in the West, okay, we have different parties here as well. And even if we support different parties here, they don't kill each other over those party lines. You know, they'll go around the pub and drink together after going out to vote. And so, you know, we do have a tendency of taking things to the extreme sometimes. But for them, you know, the creators of these tools of confusion, you know, they do not follow it to the length as they proclaim to be. Okay, time has just run off with us, unfortunately, but we are going to go around again, and we have yet to hear, you know, fully from our sister. So let me just remove the banner here, and so that we can hear from our sister Ngozi Sana. Welcome, sister Ngozi Sana. Please take yourself off mute. Yay.
Greetings, everybody. I'm not sure if I'm audible on your side.
We're going to do our best to hear you. The line is still, you know, the audio on the line, the microphone is really bad. I mean, try maybe turning it down a little bit, turning the microphone down a little bit, turning the volume down. Or if you've got two audios on, turn off one of the other audios, please. As I've said in the chat, we've got the gremlins big time in the house tonight. They don't want us to hear from our young people. Look there, we've got Chizoba again. The crackling noise is really bad.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you above it. If you're able to turn it down, turn the crackling down a little bit more, that would be very helpful.
Okay, how is that?
Okay, yes, go ahead. You're above it.
Okay. Greetings, everybody, once again.
Greetings.
South Africa. We just had an election this past Monday, the 1st of November. So we're just in the process of absorbing the results as they're coming through. So that election is actually very interesting one to watch. But just to give you a brief background, what is happening so far, we have a ruling party, the African National Congress, the oldest political party for Africa's independence in South Africa. For the first time in history, it's gone below 50% in terms of the vote.
Okay, my sis,
And we are noticing
it's very difficult to, hear clearly what you're telling us. Can I just check? Have you got YouTube open as well as the back page? Have you?
Okay, let me
turn
see
off
if
YouTube,
I can,
please. Yeah, turn off YouTube. Let's come back to you. Turn off YouTube and just stay with us. Just stay with us. No, sorry. What I meant is, have you got two windows open on your laptop? Are you watching us in YouTube and through StreamYard? Have you got two devices going? Turn off YouTube, please, or put it on silent. And please come back on camera as well. Okay, things have gone quieter now. Yeah. Just log in through StreamYard. Oops, we've lost our sis altogether, but hopefully she will come back. And until then, let me try and go around the room if everyone can take 5 minutes. And there's so much, quality contributions in the chat. If you're able to pick out a question and respond to any of the points in the chat, that would be great as well. Kwame, let's bring you back in. Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sister Shanice. I just want to thank the speakers who are coming off the microphone. I would just like to add on what the speakers who are coming off the microphone have already spoken about. Recently, I was reading an article from one of East Africa's finest journalists. He's called Andrew Mwenda. And Andrew Mwenda happens to be, in the past, he happens to be a neoliberal a journalist, is sort of who believes so much in neoliberalism. And it's working and the free market, the so-called free market and all those things, which they have been forcing down Africa's throat and the global south. And all those things they have been forcing down onto us. Andrew looks to have changed his tone. Andrew Mwenda has been an advisor to President Kagame and President Museveni as well. But this time is a little bit changing his tone in the writing, and he's asking what is Africa's problem. And this article, which appeared in the Independent on 25th October, the magazine, he has a magazine which is called The Independent, and has a website which is called www.independent.co.ug. And he tries to examine what the problem in Africa is, and says that all the countries in Africa, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, but when we speak of sub-Saharan Africa, I don't think we can speak of it, and we don't speak of North Africa too. They have failed to transform structurally their economies, and it is not because bad leaders and whatever comes with it, but he says that the structures of these economies, whether you're talking of Ghana, South Africa, Uganda, Kenya, they have failed to lift their people out of poverty. And he singles out Uganda, and he says that the economy, for example, has been like handed over, to the foreigners. You can see that the people are not being lifted out of poverty because the economy has been handed over to the foreigners, whether you're talking of the manufacturing and financial sector, construction sector, all those ones. So I will not repeat that the money is just flowing out. So it doesn't matter what type of leader you bring, as long as the systems in which they are operating, those systems are confining these types of leaders. And we have seen this. you can, we have had actually all the experiences. When we go to West Africa, we have had countries like Ghana, which have changed leaders over and over and over and over. And then these countries have failed to transform structurally. The structure of the economy has failed to be transformed. And when we come to the East, we have had countries, Angola, Uganda, which, Cameroon, Gabon, countries which have had leaders for a long time, some of them 35 years, 40 years, but still these countries have failed to form structurally. And the country which they normally compare African countries to, which is Singapore, where Lee Kuan Yew governed for more than 30 years and was able to transform the economy from a first world to, from a third world to a first world country. Is normally compared to African countries, but he argues that we have to look at the structures within which the African, countries are operating in. So we have to look at the world. So he puts it out there that we should look at the world, how it is operating, and then we should be able to understand why our continent has not been able to transform itself structurally and to lift the people out of the poverty and the misfortune and the disrespect and the weakness which we are facing. What I would like to say also is that the African youth today, I think that we need to be really forceful with what we want. I think we need to be very clear with what we want to see on this continent, because looking at the continent, we are more educated than our ancestors. For example, we know so much about the world which we live in today. We have so much information today. We know how nations have been built. We know how South Korea was built. We have seen China, some of us within our, lifetime, how it has rapidly transformed these certain sectors. For example, the high-speed rail in China, which started just recently in 2007, and they transformed the things. We have read even how the United States, as was built, and Europe itself, how all these nations were built off the backs of the Africans. So I think that as African youth, we need to be very assertive, and all these people that are running around the continent and telling us that they are coming from World Bank, they're coming from the European Union, to come and give us advice here on how to build this continent on which we are living, and on this continent on which we have very good knowledge about, and we have the knowledge about the world, and we know how they built their countries and their nations. I think that we need to stand firm and reject, these people, and tell them that we have the knowledge. We understand what is going on in this world. You cannot just come around. I will use the word blackmail. You cannot come around and blackmail us and try to tell us that you try and implement these structures just and the continent will be transformed. So I think that we understand the world better now. We know our history very well, and when we speak about unifying the continent, it is not about romanticizing, that we just want to romanticize the issue of unity as if unity will put food on the table. But it is because we understand that unity is going to be the source of our power, as my brother Hadi said, that this is the source of the power that will help us to transform the continent rapidly, and it is what will help us to have the defense which we need. It will help us to have this respect, from the world. We will gain respect from the world because of this unity. This is the same unity which people like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah argued for. And this is the same unity which people like Julius Nyerere around the end of his life, for example, when he came to Accra in 1997, he argued about, and he said that without unity, there is no future for Africa, that until Africa unites, it cannot even start solving some of its problems. When you look at people like Museveni, for example, they have been there for a very long time. They have not been able to transform the economy, even though he has done certain things, but he has failed to outgrow certain things in his life. He's a very good follower of Julius Nyerere, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. But when I look at him, he has failed to outgrow the Nyerere who existed after, before 1997. I think to a certain level, I think President Museveni has not read Nyerere when Nyerere came to Accra and say that we need to unify the continent very well. Because when you read Museveni and his thinking, he says that the other parts of the continent we should build regionally. What Nyerere used to argue in the 60s, actually, and he outgrew that level. Museveni argues that we should unite you should unite the continent regionally, and then when united regionally, then the other parts will just adopt. It should not be a revolutionary process. That is what he argues, that it should be an evolutionary process whereby people should, those ones who want to unite should unite. So I see him as someone who is living in an era where Nyerere actually had not grown to a certain level to understand what Nkrumah was trying to fight for. And I pray, and I argue, I urge the African youth that we should be more forceful in how we ask for this unity which we are seeking for Africa to be unified, and we should be strictly and strongly anchored in the thinking of Nkrumahism and what he advocated for, because Nkrumah, his ideas have come to transcend time. His ideas have come to, have come back to haunt us, even the other African leaders who have become adamant and refused to understand what Nkrumah was arguing about. But his voice continuously comes up. His ideas continuously come up. So I think that the African youth, they should take up these ideas, and then we should run with them and be forceful in our demand for African unity. I want to thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Brother Kwame. The youth have got to be at the forefront. So much talent amongst the youth that we've been hearing as well from our brother Chizoba. Transformation. I heard that coming all the way through what you were saying as well, Brother Kwame. The need for transformation. We've got to transform politically. We've got to transform in terms of our education. We've got to transform the economy. We've got to transform Africa. We've got to do away with the borders as well. Absolutely critical. Hear you on all of that, my brother. And if that's the message from the youth coming all the way up, then the leaders of tomorrow, who are the youths of today and the leaders of tomorrow, will be implementing these policies. So let's sing from the hilltops, what we want all of our young people to be singing and recognizing in themselves, their greatness, their former greatness, their history, their potential. Yeah, it's all to play for, but we've got to make sure as well that the youths are protected. We've been hearing in the chat, especially from our brother Kwame, we've got to mind, the poisons that are being sent, to Africa to try and depopulate. And we know where we're going with that. Yeah, we saw it with HIV/AIDS, we saw it with Ebola. We've got the other one coming on board now as well. We've got to recognize, that there is a war against us as a people. It's been ongoing for over 2,000 years. The continent of Africa is all that we have left. We as a people, we used to own the entire globe. We populated the entire globe. We were the original Europeans, the original people who occupied that part of the world that we now call Europe, the original people that occupied China, the original people of Asia, the original people of Australia, the original people of the Americas. We as Africans from out of Africa populated the entire globe. And we have to remember that. And right now, those people that came out of the Caucasus Mountains, the beasts, the Neanderthals that raped and murdered our people, that raped the women, that have evolved out of the raping, to who they are today. Those people, the descendants of the Neanderthals, who themselves and who scientists actually say today still have between 5 to 15% Neanderthal DNA in their blood. That group of people, because of the ice experience, have no soul, have no mercy, have no heart. Hence why they own today, you know, a huge proportion of the world. And we've got to make sure that we protect Africa and we protect our young people, we protect our borders. And in the same way that they protect their borders, you think you can just sail up into Italy or sail into Spain today? Hey, they put you on a plane right back. Let's try again with our sister Ngosizana, because we would love to hear from our sister all the way from South Africa. Welcome, Black, my sis. We're not hearing from you, my sister. Let me just check if you're off mute. It looks as though you're off mute. Please turn your audio up so we can hear you. Hey, we're going to have to invite our sister back. We're not hearing from her today at all. We'll try and bring you back next strong, my sis. And between now and then, we'll try and work out the challenges that you're experiencing with your audio device. And let's go back to our brother Hardy, who we haven't heard from for a little while. And wow, family, if you're just tuning in and you missed the introduction and the initial presentation from our brother Hardy, you need to watch back the replay, okay? Brother Hardy, you're hard for true. Come in, the brother.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a shame that the technology is not allowing us to hear from Sister Nkozana. I think it would have been great to hear her perspective on these matters. But I'm hopeful that the ancestors will come through, so maybe we can have a few minutes of her perspective. But yeah, just to reiterate the things that we've been. I hear what Sister Sheila is saying. You know, about this unity in the family, this unity in the community, this unity in the country. I think these arguments have come up over and over again, far back in the 1960s. And as Kwame Gonza has mentioned, some of the heads of states who were in Addis Ababa in May 1963 began to argue against the instant unification of the continent on the basis that we needed to start uniting from, you know, country level and then regional level before continental, as opposed to Kwame Nkrumah's proposal, Kwame Nkrumah, Modibo Keita, and other leaders' proposal that we should unite the continent. I appreciate the perspective, and if you look at the problem of ethnic-based politics, it is a real problem. But you know, if you read political psychology, you would come to appreciate that sometimes there are fundamental problems that if people are unable to get over, you know, they fall back to the primal instincts. The primal things basically are those that are based on either identity or emotion or things like that. So if you look at ethnicity or religion or things like that, in environments where the economies are such that people are not able to achieve social mobility up to a certain extent, then they fall back on the primal issues. It is an issue that happens in all the African countries, but I do not think that we can say that we have to solve all these problems from all the millions of families in Africa before we can go to unity. If take a look at the United States of America. The United States of America is a conglomeration of 50 countries. I think that mostly people do not realize this. But the United States of America, which is the greatest, the most powerful country in the world today in terms of military and economic power, is made up of 50 countries. I don't know if it can be argued that the United States of America was able to deal with all the family disagreements, within all the families that were existing before it then started to unite. I appreciate that it also came at great cost to lives and stuff like that. But these are great issues of our time that you cannot wait until you have solved every single disagreement in the family before you go on, because there are solutions that have rippling effects. There are solutions that have rippling effects. So when are you going to finish solving the problems in my family, and then move to your family, then move to Kwame Gonza's family, then move to, before you then say, by the time you finish solving the problems in all of these families, you are going to have to now deal with the problems between the family. And then that will take another 100 years before you deal with those things. So what is that one solution that you can implement on a continent-wide basis that is capable of dealing with all these issues that we are facing, militarily, politically, international power, and even economically? What one solution has the rippling effect that is capable of dealing with all this? And some people also argue that we have too many languages, 2,000 languages or whatsoever, and therefore it is impossible for us to unite. But these are people who do not appreciate the need. The moment you have vision, based on some kind of principle, it is now for you to ask how to do it and pursue the how with all the vigor that you have in you. It is not enough to just say, because of this, I cannot achieve it. Look, in today's world, technology allows us to be able to speak through a device, a language in Ghana, maybe Dagbali, that can be instantly and correctly translate into, say, Swahili for another person who doesn't understand Dagbali to understand what I'm saying in Swahili. Even though I'm speaking in Dagbali, it will translate the same thing instantly into Swahili, or it will translate it into, let's say, Igbo or Yoruba or something. This is technology, and we can invest. If we are committed to this vision, we can invest in these technologies, and they will completely make things that look impossible absolutely possible. Because look, Western countries are going and their billionaires are exploring space. They call it space tourism. The last time I tuned to BBC and I heard them discussing Jeff Bezos and space tourism, and I'm like, what is this? We have people on this earth who are unable to even afford 3 square meals a day, and we are talking about space tourism. But that is what they want to do, and they are putting their money where their mouth is, investing in what they feel is important to them. So we need to begin to invest in things that are important to us, and put our money where our mouths are, and then we can begin to build. We can begin to build an Africa that will be respected by every other nation in the world. The issues of tribal politics or tribalism or ethnicity, or it's those things are, in my opinion, not fundamental problems. Those things are symptoms. They are symptoms of more fundamental issues. And every society that you have has these symptoms. I mean, in the UK, you have divisions like that. We have the Irish against the These people fought wars and killed people and bombed themselves. You understand? Those divisions still exist. If you go to the United States of America, they have such. If you go to Europe, if you go to Europe, they have those kinds of divisions. So those divisions are not necessarily fundamental. Those divisions are symptoms that can be dealt with, because despite the fact that they have these divisions, they are still united. When Europe is coming to negotiate with Africa for the economic partnership agreements, what do? They come as a bloc and negotiate with African countries one after the other. How is an African country like Ghana, with 30 million people, less economic muscle, going to be able to sit as equals with a European Union with all this economic power and all this military power? So we can't begin to look at the symptoms and postpone perpetually the big visions that will have rippling effects on all the things that we want to achieve. I want to conclude by saying that we need to begin the unity project from the mind. If you are an African, you must see your fellow African as your brother or as your sister. You must see somebody from another country as somebody who is your family. We are one. I am because you are, and you are because of me. And this mental unity is going to help us be able to achieve the political and economic unification, and do it in a way that bestows enormous power on the continent and its people, both home and in abroad, to be able to demand and command the respect that we deserve without going to beg for it. Thank you very much.
Oh my days, family. Are you feeling the power of our young people coming up tomorrow? Oh my gosh, I wish I could start my years over again. I want to be in your generation. The generation that's going to bring about the change that we're talking about. Yes, absolutely agree. We need to find unity in our differences. It's okay. We can have our different languages, we can have our different religions, we can have our different tribes, etc. But we need to find unification and unity in those differences. So that's what we got to get behind. And as my brother was saying, the unity of the mind, it starts in the mind first. We see each other as brothers and sisters. Rise up. Woo! Time is running and passing. But let's see. We're going to try again. See if we can bring in our beautiful sister who's been having some challenges tonight with the internet. Sister Ngoson Sana. Let's try again. No, we're not hearing you. Oh, the video is great, but audibly, we're not hearing you at all. Please check that the audio is on. Don't worry, family. We will invite our sister Black, and hopefully we will have the technicals sorted out. Make sure the volume's up full, please, my sis. Let's try one more time. See if we can hear from our beautiful sis from South Africa. Wow. Okay, we'll come back to you. Fiddle around with the volume, and let's see if we can hear a few words from you before the end of the day today. Let's hear again from our brother Chizoba, who's also been battling with internet challenges. Brother Chizoba, please unmute yourself. I think our brother may have frozen. Oh dear. Oh, okay. We'll come back to our brother Chizoba. Sister Ngososana, please just talk, and the minute we hear audio coming from you, we will bring you in. Okay, Sister Sheila, you ready to come Black, my sis?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Thank you very much for the discussion. It's been quite eye-opening, as usual. Quite a lot of information to take forward. Brother Yakub, thank you very much for your contribution as well. And I would like to say this to you. You see, when we talk about unity, the division between national lines and country lines, and the division between tribal lines, all that disunity is all disunity. It does not matter where it is. And you find the biggest cause of this disunity is disharmony within the self. You cannot give out harmony. You cannot give out that unity when you yourself, within you, there is no unity. So you see the African person as it is right now. What has happened is a software that has been installed in us, that Western software, is the one that's making us be very disharmonious towards each other. And yes, there is need for us to change our mindset. So you find we have that distrust when we are dealing with our fellow African. It doesn't matter whether that African is a tribesmate or a countrymate or a churchmate or a neighbor from another country. We just have that great distrust. And you find, like, for example, here in the UK, you find we are divided against against national lines to begin with, against national lines. So you find, like, me, I'm East African, I don't want to deal with West Africans. West Africans don't want to deal with South Africans. But we are all facing the same problem in the country. When the country they see a black person. Sometimes they don't even care whether it's an African. They don't care whether it's a Jamaican. They see a black person, and we all suffer under the same racism. But the issue here is that we find it very hard to come together. The unity conversation, we've been speaking for a long time, but you find that even when we try to come together as Black people in the UK or Black people in the West, we don't go far. Because there is something in there that just creates that distrust or creates that big boundary, that it becomes very hard for us to cross over and take it further. And you find that even in the places whereby we are many, we are the majority, we still get oppressed and we still get shafted by the system because, again, that unity is wanting. And what I've come to realize is because within us, there is no harmony within the self. Within the self, there is no harmony. So you cannot give what is not there. And I find the reason why that harmony isn't there is because we have a software in our head that is programmed to create that disharmony.
All right, that's Sister Sheila. We
Yes.
get the point.
Yes.
We're coming back round
Yes.
again on that. We have got to get an antivirus. What is the antivirus? Let's bring in Hardy. What is the antivirus to deprogram that software in our head that is causing the disunity and the huge boulders in the way that Sister Sheila is talking about, preventing us from unifying? I've said we've got to unify in our differences. We've got to unify regardless. You know, we know the challenges, we know the difficulties, but we've got to recognize it and get over it. What do you say, Hardy? We'll bring back in the others as soon as their internet allows them. But we are literally 8 minutes away from the top of the hour. Brother Hardy, we've been programmed. There's a software that our minds have been programmed to self-destruct, to self-hate, and, you know, to despise ourselves and to see all the negatives and the hurts, and that's what we're getting. You turn on the television, there it is. Africa, the poor, impoverished Africa, the country that can't do for self, the leaders who are corrupt, you know, the water that's dirty, all these awful things. And our children grow up, you know, and seeing all of these negative images of themselves, watching the television and seeing the Europeans seem to be living a wonderful Hollywood lifestyle. You know, they don't show them all of the Europeans that sleeping in the gutters and the alleyways and the corners. You don't see all of that in Africa. We see it, those of us who are here. So they show you this Hollywood image, and our young children grow up programmed into thinking that, you know, it's all that and a bag of chips on the other side of the pond, and they have got to get there, leave wonderful, wealthy Mama Africa behind, and, you know, tread on everybody and anybody along the way just to get out. What a programming. What are the steps that we need to take? How do we deprogram that dotty virus?
Yeah, I mean, I earlier talked about the purpose of the past as a gateway to the future, right? Sometime in the 1960s, the UNESCO assembled a great committee of African scholars of African descent, to completely rewrite the history of Africa from the perspective of the African, to correct the misconceptions and to redirect the history where it was distorted by Western imperialism. And they came up with an 8-volume history material called The General History of Africa. I have just read the first volume. The first volume is about 800 pages long, and we have 8 pages.
Volumes.
These talk about the history of the great civilizations that I had earlier referenced and what they were doing. Now, you cannot deprogram without countering what has been used, to program us. Because our educational systems are full of Eurocentric theories. And I remember back in university, I was in theories of development class, and one of my lecturer kept, hammering these theories by Western scholars, McClellan and the rest, that talked about the African having a low IQ and the African, I was so incensed that I couldn't help it. I had to interject and tell him that I could not believe that an African professor in an African university teaching African students was hell-bent on pushing these sort of theories. And his response was that as a professor, his duty was to present us with both sides of the argument for us to be. And I said, no, that is the point where we've lost it, because we are so fixated on both sidism, so-called useless objectivity, whereas the other side is only focused on pushing their own agenda. You cannot put two people who must reach the same destination. You put one person ahead and the other person behind, and say that you want to start them on a level playing field. No, one person is already ahead and somebody is yet to catch up, and you are playing them on a level playing field. Right from the beginning, you are disadvantaging the person who is already behind. So your objectivity, it is said that when an elephant has its leg on an ant, and they ask you, what is your opinion on the fight between the elephant and the ant? And you say you want to be neutral or objective. The ant will not appreciate your objectivity. The ant will not appreciate your objectivity because there is an imbalance of power. There is an imbalance of strength. Okay, so that is where we are. We need to pick these uplifting histories, and we have them in abundance from our ancestors like Dr. Runoko Rashidi, who has passed on. We have Chancellor Williams. We have Ben Johanan. We have plenty of them. We need to pick them up, and I will just appeal to those of you in the media or who have the platforms. These are things that can be picked up and used in education, in art, in film, in movies, so that we begin to detoxify the minds, whilst we do all other these political and economic advocacy towards the unification of the Africa
Thank
continent
you
and people.
so much, Brother RD, Sister Sheila, Brother Kwame in your absence who's dropped out, our sister Nkosa Sana. Oh, so sorry that we weren't able to hear from you today. We will be inviting you back. She's just reappeared backstream there. Let's bring you on. And we've also lost our brother Chizoba as well. Oh my days, what challenges we've had this evening with the lines. But you know what? We won't let that get in the way of the importance of the message, and we will be inviting you all back, because I'm sure everyone in the chat would love to hear from our brothers again and our sister. So family in the chat, please big up our young speakers, including Sister Sheila, who's quite young as well. Let's big up all of the young people in the house. Very well said. People are saying well talk, real talk. Hardy, they're saying brilliant. The imbalance that you've talked about, people are on point with you on that as well. We've heard so much this evening from our young people. What a future we've got ahead of us, with the minds of the young people that we've just been hearing from today. And we've got our work cut out, but what's kind of come through very powerfully is the importance of our unity as a people. We need to detoxify the mind. Our brothers just highlighted 8 volumes of African history that maybe we ought to be using as a curriculum in all of our schools, so that we're all on the same page. Those 8 volumes of African history, and I've read some of it myself, is packed with information about our former civilizations, our former empires, our former greatness, and it gives us so much information that we're not going to get from a Eurocentric education. We've heard the sort of nonsense we get from a Eurocentric education this evening from Brother Hardy, and in the past as well, on previous shows from Sister Sheila and other guests as well. So we know that the information that we are being fed as young people through their schooling system, which we call the fooling system, through their colleges and universities, it's not fit for purpose for us as Africans. It's a Eurocentric education that's designed to brainwash us into believing that we're inferior and they're superior, and that needs to go, and the sooner it goes, the better. And so we're going to have to wrap up there. We're already, over time. But I want to thank our guests. I want to thank everybody in the chat. Those of you in the chat, please do comment under the video before you leave. Not in the chat. When you come outside of the chat and you go into YouTube, please do comment under the video. Big up our young people who've been speaking so eloquently, so intellectually, and so powerfully this evening. We will be Black Next Strong. We've got a wonderful lineup for you next strong as well, because we want to hear from policymaker influencers, what they're going to be doing to take forward some of the recommendations from our young people. It's all about going forward, us taking control politically, economically, culturally, spiritually, educationally. We need to be in control of our health. We need to be in control of our militaries. We need to be in control of our wealth and our resources, so that we can ensure that the people who are actually benefiting from Africa's wealth, first and foremost, are Africans themselves. Family, wow. Thank you so much. And all being well, we'll see you Black Next Strong. More love, more power, more strength, and more voodoo. Sister Shanice out of here for now. See you next strong. More power.